We're now going to have a look at to see how we can convert these times, in particular the high water times here and here, from the standard port into the secondary port. We need to have a look at the secondary port's piece of conversion information, and in particular the two lines that are headed high water. So if we look here, we can see that what this is telling us is that if high water is at midnight or at 12 midday, the high water time is 40 minutes earlier here than it would be at the standard port. But if it was at 6 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the evening, it would be 18 minutes earlier than at the standard port. Now, obviously, if we've got a high water time that's at these particular times, the calculation's pretty easy. We just subtract whichever is the appropriate column. However, what we want to do in most cases is find out the difference somewhere in between. And that's what we've got today. So the first thing I'd like you to do is to copy this adjustment information here onto your sheet so you have it for reference. So here at midday and midnight, the difference is 40 minutes earlier, and at 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening, it's 18 minutes earlier. And once you've done that, you can forget about what's in the almanac and we can just have a look at the numbers. So what this is telling us is our first high water time at the standard port is just before 9 in the morning. And if we look at this table, 9 in the morning falls between 6 in the morning and 12 midday. So we want to find out what the difference is at just before 9 o'clock on this scale between 6 o'clock, which is 18 minutes earlier, and 12 o'clock, which is 40 minutes earlier. The way we can do that, and there are a number of different methods to do this, but I prefer to use this sort of triangle method, is this. If it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and we'll put 0,6 on this upper scale, this is going to be our time scale, the difference would be 18 minutes. If it was midday, and we'll put midday up here, the difference would be negative 40 or 40 minutes before. And I'm going to put it there. I'll explain why in a moment. So I'm going to put it on the 11th line across here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill in my times. I've got 6 lines here, so this will be 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 and 11. Now the reason I like using these triangles is because you have a choice about the scale you use here. I've got this laid out with 12 divisions, and I've noticed that there are 22 numbers between negative 18 and negative 40. So by using the 11th line across here, I can make each of these divisions equal to 2 minutes. If I now just write in a few of those, so I'm going to just write in every other one. So this one would be negative 36, this one would be 32, this would be 28 minutes earlier, and so on. Now what we can do now is we can use a straight edge. The most convenient straight edge is our plotter, and we can draw a line that just links up the fact that at 12 o'clock, if high water was at 12 o'clock, the difference would be 40. And at this end, the two bits that touch are, if it was at 6 o'clock, the difference is negative 18, sorry. Now what we need to do is we need to find the time of today's high water on this sliding scale. So it's just before 9 o'clock. We start with our straight edge parallel to this line we've drawn, and we move it parallel all the way across until we get to the point where we're just before 9 o'clock. And notice how this line here is kept parallel to that. That comes down to there, and I read off this scale. And I can see there that that's negative 28. So what that's allowed us to do is see that 9 o'clock is halfway between these two, and it's a negative 28, or 28 minutes before high water is the adjustment to make here. So here if we were to take 28 minutes off this, that would take us to, we'll put it over here for our secondary port, 8:26. And of course, because it's in daylight savings time, we now add the hour, so that's going to be at 9:26. That's our first high water. And now we'll repeat the same process for the evening tide. So this time, high water is between, well, it's at 9:30, which is between 6 in the evening. So we'll use the second. And midnight. Fill in the times. If it was 6 o'clock in the evening, it would be -18, or 18 minutes earlier. And again, the same scale as before. Now, with a bit of practice, you'll realise that you could reuse this first scale for this second calculation, but for the purposes of practice, I'm rewriting it today. Again, we're going to join up midnight with 40 minutes before. This time, high water time is 9:30, so I slide my straight edge down until I'm at 9:30 and see where that leads me to here. And it leads me to, well, the closest one here is 30 minutes before high water. And you can see that's a nice easy calculation. It was 9:30, 30 minutes earlier is 9 o'clock. And now we make our adjustment for daylight savings time, add an hour, 2200. And that's our high water times for our secondary port.